So, hello everyone. Today we are very pleasure to have Pietro and Polo from the city government of Lugano here. And would you mind to say hi to the Taiwanese audience?
Hello.
So, hello.
From Lugano.
Yeah.
Very hot Lugano.
Yeah, very hot today. Yeah. Okay, so as you may know that last year we actually sent 8 students to Lugano for the Plan B summer school, and after we realized that it was very amazing and very impressive, this year we decided to send double the amount of the students to Lugano for the Plan B. So we would like to learn more from Lugano. So in the following interview, we will ask some of the questions relating to the history and the executive plan of the Plan B, the series of Plan B events. And also we would like to know if there are any potential a cooperation opportunity between Taipei and Lugano. So let's start with the first question. So we would like to know more about what is the motivation for Lugano to start building the crypto payment system. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I think in order to understand the motivations for the city of Lugano to embark on such an ambitious project, we need a short introduction. So Lugano is a municipality in southern Switzerland. It's the economic capital of southern Switzerland. And in 2018, the council of the city of Lugano chose to support innovation as much as possible. And in that context, the city of Lugano launched some blockchain-based applications. The most successful or popular, I would use that word, the most popular one today is the payment token Luga, which is used by roughly 10,000 inhabitants in Lugano, which, if you consider the overall number of citizens that we have in Lugano, which is roughly 70,000, a bit less than 70,000 in proportion, the percentage is quite high. So over 10,000 people have an app with a payment token approved by the Swiss financial regulator, and that token is based on blockchain, of course. And later on, and this started in 2020 already, in 2021, the administration launched its own blockchain platform called the 3A chain. Currently, the Luga, our payment token, is on that blockchain, on the city blockchain infrastructure. So the administration not only promotes blockchain, of course, and Bitcoin, but tries itself to experiment, right? How useful this technology can be for Lugano, for the city of Lugano, for its inhabitants, of course, for the citizens, for the economy, for the businesses, for the territory, broadly speaking. So I think this is the necessary introduction to understand why today we are here at the Lugano Plan B Summer School. So an administration that deliberately decided to push innovation, digitalization, and of course blockchain is an important part of that decided to experiment itself with the technology. And based on those two, I would say today, in retrospective, quite successful experiences, we met at the very end of 2021 Tether, the company Tether, and with them we sat down and started discussing the possibility of cooperating together. What you see is the result of that discussion.
Yes.
It is a memorandum of understanding, so an agreement, let's say, between an administration, a city, the municipality of Lugano, and a company, which is Tether. An agreement that over, in principle, a period of 4 years sets out to do plenty of things, and education and the Plan B Summer School is one of those things. But I'll be happy to also with Paolo to elaborate on the different components of Plan B during this discussion.
Okay.
Back to you.
Yeah, thank you. It was really an amazing journey. So talking about Tether, you mentioned already. So actually, we also want to know more about why do you want to cooperate with Tether, and what do you want to achieve by hosting the series of events of Plan B? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I think the cooperation with Tether started quite naturally when we met with Tether. Let's not forget that Tether is a leader in this industry. It's the largest stablecoin worldwide, and it the collaboration started very naturally. We were at a juncture, so at the end of 2021, where we had experimented ourselves with the technology, with the two initiatives that I mentioned. So the payment token, which itself is some sort of stable token because it's linked to the Swiss franc. So you see that we had some commonalities, let's say, right, with a company like Tether. They have their USDT, best known stable coin, and we had our own, so to speak, stable coin back to the Swiss franc, more or less. So there were some commonalities, including a shared vision for an innovative Lugano, a city that is, I hope you can, you are witness now of this, a beautiful place with a quite enchanting landscape, very attractive, certainly a tourist destination, a financial hub, but also a place that want to play a role when it comes to innovation. And we think that in Switzerland, thanks to a quite forthcoming and welcoming overall legislation, stability, also the links to, I think, to the financial sector, which is very developed here, we can certainly play an important role in helping innovating in many areas, including, of course, the financial sector. And in that respect, maybe now that we have told a little bit the story of what happened before launching Plan B, because Plan B was then launched on the 3rd of March of 2022. Right? But before telling you the different things about the different components of Plan B, maybe with Paolo, what else has the city of Lugano been doing to innovate? And Paolo, I think he has a quite still unique anecdote or story to tell us and to tell our viewers in Taiwan. Paolo.
Yeah, sure. Well, if I may add something to what Pietro just said, the collaboration with a company like Tether, which is a leader, right? It's a leader, one of the first and probably the biggest stablecoin in the world. It's very important to us because as CD, as Pietro mentioned, we started way before to meet with Tether, working with blockchain and crypto. We have the culture, that's something very important. We have a city with a culture of innovation in blockchain and crypto, in all the other sectors for sure, but we are talking about blockchain and crypto today. But certainly the fact to meet Tether and get together to promote the adoption of blockchain and crypto, this gives you much more power, power of impact on the community. If I can mention, for instance, today, right, we are here at the summer school. Imagine that if the city of Lugano had to invite some speakers, we don't even have the contact sometimes. Well, today we have, because we are part of the community. But before, like 4 years ago, before we reach Adam Beck, for instance, to ask him to come here, it takes time. They have, all the numbers on the phone. They just call each other. Yeah. So to be, part of this project with one of the leaders, it's really easier for us to really develop this, for us to develop also project in the blockchain. But as Pietro said, we are not doing this only with Tether. As a city, for instance, we have issued last January the first blockchain-based bond of the city of Lugano, and actually in Switzerland of the public sector. This is a historic bond, and this we have done this on SDX, which is the Swiss Stock Exchange digital version, and the SDX is the first world fully regulated platform. So, and this is in Switzerland. So this is also very important to say that Switzerland, as he mentioned, we have the framework, we have innovation, we have platform ready. So we are really advanced. So by using this world first fully regulated platform, I issued the first historic bond for the city of Lugano, 100 million Swiss francs. And this makes a really big buzz in the world because this is probably in the history of the blockchain the first, let's say, full characteristics bond. There are many bonds already that have been issued in the past, in the last 3-4 years, 5 years, but this one is really, traded on a stock exchange, so traded on the blockchain. So the other bonds are not tradable in the blockchain. It has only the full characteristic as a normal bond. So this is really historic for Switzerland and for Lugano. So Lugano is leading the innovation in this point. That's another interesting story about Lugano.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your sharing.
So obviously we are aware that the government has committed a lot of effort into developing the payment infrastructure here and obviously promoting the usage of it for both the perspective from consumers and obviously, as you said in your lecture, for during COVID times, the brick and mortars and local firms. So behind this, we would like to ask if you encountered any specific difficulties or like obstacles in the process of setting up the entire infrastructure and obviously promoting people to use it.
Well, we cannot really. I can say that these were unsurmountable obstacles or formidable challenges, difficulties here and there, of course. And let me mention maybe two or three. Let's start from ourselves, right? A city administration in Switzerland, in principle, would not do something like this. So the first challenge was to learn ourselves, right? Learn about the technology, acquire information and know-how about the technology itself, of course, the community, if you think about it, the regulatory environment. So we also, for our payment token, went through the necessary approval process, and that's something we had never done, of course. So we ourselves had to go through this period of learning about the technology, about the rules, etc., etc. So this was the first challenge, of course, and it's something that requires time, of course. It requires commitment because you need to be motivated, sufficiently motivated to do so. Then, if we now use as example for this discussion our payment token, of course, we think about users and merchants, right? Those are the two categories of stakeholders, main category stakeholders, because we have the city that issues the payment token and manages the platform, let's say. Then we have the merchants, and then we have the users. Here we see difficulties, of course. Again, the first one is understanding the technology, making sure that the instrument and the tools that we propose, let's say, to our citizens and merchants as well, of course, are sufficiently user-friendly, because we cannot expect everybody to spend hours and hours and hours to study something. Yes. They need to feel sufficiently comfortable because ultimately it's about money, right? Our payment token has a value. The payments in Bitcoin online in network, the payments in Tether, it's about money ultimately, right? Customers are paying the services or goods, products that they purchase in a currency that is not yet, let's say, a mainstream currency. It's not yet. We acknowledge that, right? It's certainly not mainstream yet. So it's about feeling sufficiently comfortable. It's about providing, of course, also and making sure that we team up with partners. Tether is one of those, obviously, but also the partners that we have retained to set up the payment system that are sufficiently solid, stable, reliable, that there are no interruptions, that there are no I would say major problems, because that would cause a lack of trust. Ultimately, it's about trust. Now, if you consider what is happening here, we are offering this as an alternative to the traditional payment system. We're not replacing it. It's an alternative. It's an extra. It's an additional option that merchants as well as users can have. No? And trust is therefore crucial, because you're up against an industry that is very, very solid, right? In principle, very solid, that has been there for decades. So it's not, you can take it for granted that you just show up and suggest or propose an alternative and everybody will jump on that alternative. It doesn't work like that, right? It takes time. It takes of course, a stability, trust. You need to build that first and foremost. So we spent a lot of time doing that. We spent a lot of time organizing also events to present, to allow also both users, meaning citizens, right, as well as merchants, to test our solution and to familiarize with it, to ask questions, to play with it ultimately. That's what it is about. Paolo, I don't know if on this point you...
Yeah, maybe I can add something. As Pietro mentioned, if you work for a city, for a public sector, who is going to motivate you to invest so much of your private time, because we really spent nights, Saturdays, Sundays, we traveled around. So this is really private time. You're not, let's say, you're not rewarded for this. There is no incentive to say, we are a company, we have to sell more. No, we are a city, so we just have to make sure that our citizens live well. So all this is really something very special about what happened in Lugano, what's happening and what happened here in Lugano. A group of people, we are really working with our heart, putting our time, private time and interest. But when you innovate, you need to try. You need to invest time. You need to be, brave sometimes, managing the risk, but taking some more risks that normally you are not asked to take. So the whole city is behaving like this now, and this is really something unique. And maybe if I can give a message to the other public sector, take some risks, take some initiative, take some of your private time, really, put yourself in a position that you are out of the box, out of your comfort zone, and say, okay, what can I do for my city? Because at the end of the day, we are trying to make the living in Lugano or the life of our citizens better. And this is really something is changing. So it's about change. And for change, you need time and you need passion and you need, your personal investment too.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yep. So the next question is, given that Lugano has presented such a successful case of employing crypto into its payment infrastructure and also gathering people who are passionate and believers in this industry all together across different borders here in Plan B Summer School, what are the sort of long-term or short-term visions or next steps you have for this project or technology?
Well, there's still a lot that we have to do to successfully implement Plan B. As I mentioned, when the MOU, the memorandum between the City of Lugano and Tether was signed in March of 2022, we had allocated, let's say, 4 years to implement the different tracks of Plan B. One is education, of course. You see the Plan B Summer School. There has been throughout the year other initiatives, maybe less international than this one, mainly catered to a local audience, made of professionals, lawyers, bankers, insurance, people from the insurance industry, notary publics, etc., accounting firms. So education is certainly an important one. And still, and more needs to be done. Of course, this is probably our one of the areas where we try to invest most of our resources. And when I say ours, it means Plan B, meaning Tether and municipality jointly, right? Because this is a partnership between the two. So the education part. Then we have, of course, also growing the payment opportunity, let's put it that way. So the possibility of paying in crypto throughout the city, to the city administration, but also, of course, to hundreds and hundreds of merchants throughout the city. And that is growing quite fast. But that also, as we were saying, requires a lot of attention, a lot of care. It means making sure that it's not only about onboarding new merchants or new users. It's about offering them the necessary services when they encounter one or the other challenge, right? So not to let them down, because that's precisely when the trust is lost. And it takes time to get them on board, but it's very easy to lose them. So that also requires a lot of time. Then, of course, we have a quite important, I would say, that although it has started only last year, in October, the Plan B Forum has already carved out its own niche, let's say, I think, particularly in the Bitcoin world, right? And we'll have the second edition, 21st of October, 2023, so in a few months after the summer here in Lugano. And that event, after the first edition, I can guarantee that it will be one, if not the Bitcoin event worldwide. So this is something else that helps boosting Lugano as a destination, in that case, particularly for Bitcoin and Bitcoin technology. So stay tuned, and if you are interested in Bitcoin and everything that is Bitcoin, that is the place to be in October, I think, in October worldwide.
Okay.
The forum. Then we have the hub. The hub is an initiative that consists in a building. I think for the size of Lugano, a quite big building that will host a number of companies active in blockchain technology, peer-to-peer communication, consolidated companies, mature companies, but also startups, and with some fundings to match as well. So that is another initiative that is of great importance to Plan B, because it helps building and broadening the community, the developers community. Here in Lugano, the building is very visible, is in the city center, and will open early 2024. It's currently undergoing some renovation, so there's been a little bit of delay here compared to what we were able to say last year, but it's opening very soon, and it's already quite visible in the city center. And yes, I think these are the main components of Plan B. Paolo.
Yeah, maybe I can add a couple of points. One is sustainable mining. Not mining here in Switzerland because there is no reason, cost of energy, site, etc. But research and development of technologies to make a better mining, a more green mining. So we already have one company who set up here from zero. So they came here with a very interesting project they set up. So we are trying to push this in collaboration, with the universities, so we can link them to the universities and create a real research and development center for sustainable mining. And then naturally, Pietro mentioned startups, which is, a very important part of an ecosystem. If you have 100, 200, 1,000 startups in a place, then you can say you have an ecosystem, and then the ecosystem is living by himself. So to sustain all these startups and to attract new startups, he mentioned one fund which will be set up for companies, linked more to the Bitcoin and peer-to-peer technologies. And we are talking to other investors to set up other funds with different topics, so we can really offer to the startups and to the entrepreneurs to come here and find also the capitals they need, not only the environment, not only the expert and the colleagues on the startup, but also the capital they need. So we are trying to to putting together let's say an innovation district here in Lugano dedicated to blockchain and crypto. Yeah, that's a little bit what we want to do.
I think.
Sorry, excuse me.
No, it was another question.
I'll just add one thing. Just when you think about what Paolo touched here at the very end, I think is very important. The innovation district. If you think about innovation, then the ingredients that you need in Lugano, but I think this applies worldwide, right? Is talent, of course, and we think that by making Lugano as visible as possible, we will be able to attract some talent, and an initiative like this one, of course, is it's absolutely happening, and an initiative like this one is really part of the core of what we're doing. Our collaboration with the local universities, and here let's not forget we are hosted in this beautiful campus of Franklin University, Switzerland, is one of the 3 universities based in Lugano that will contribute also to prepare the talent, right? That will then form part of the community. So talent, funds, and Paolo mentioned, of course, the funds that are being prepared and those are already available. And I think that ultimately our role is to cook everything, right? In a nice manner, to make sure that everything is harmonious. And this is why we think about the Plan B Forum. We think about the support that we provide as city administration, beside now all the payment system, but also in terms of relocations, in terms of what individuals and companies need to arrive in Lugano, set up shop in Lugano, and feel comfortable living ultimately here in Lugano as well. So that is part of what we are doing, yes.
Maybe I can add one more point, which is we want to create a bridge between the traditional finance and the fintech, the blockchain based, let's say, and decentralized finance. Why? Well, simply because Lugano is very important in the financial sector in Switzerland. We are the 3rd platform in Switzerland. You have Zurich, Geneva, and Lugano historically. So we want to keep this as an advantage, or actually put more advantage on this, because now we also have the blockchain and fintech side here in Lugano. So my job, our job, in this case is my job because I worked also for the banks, is to create the link between the traditional finance and the fintech companies, and to mix this world. And the digital bond was one very first step, and which makes a big buzz because of this, because it was a kind of traditional finance, but also very technological finance, right? Tech finance. So this is one point. And maybe last point is very important, is that the whole city is under stress, or we put ourselves under stress to make projects on the blockchain and crypto sphere. So We are thinking about many, many other projects. We don't have the time to do everything, so we are choosing some 2 or 3 interesting projects. But in the future, we will continue, adopting the blockchain for our processes, for our payment systems, but not only on the financial side, but really also in the processes of the city administration. So we don't only make advertisement of this ecosystem we are creating. We are part of the ecosystem. So we are doing stuff. We are doing projects in the blockchain.
Okay, so based on all of this, so many successful cases that happens in Lugano, I want to ask that as what kind of lessons that other cities such as Taipei that we can learn from?
Well, let's be honest. We launched it. Let's say our start was in 2018, 19, 20. The Plan B, which was the big core of the whole project, is just 1 year old. So it's really an infant, right? We have done incredible things. As Pietro mentioned, we were supposed to do in 4 years. We have done everything almost in 1.5 years. So for a public administration, it's pretty interesting, pretty strange to do that. But we are working hard on this. So to export the concept, or let's say to share our experience, yes, I think it's necessary. It's good for the public sector, especially for the public sector, because private company, they don't need our advice. I mean, we take advices from the startups, right? But for the public sector, the approach we had, the mentality, and the personal engagement on this kind of project, I think we can transmit this to the other cities, to the other states, or to the other public servants, right? We don't have a plan on this. Today we go based on, they call us, they are interested, we do a speech, we do a collaboration, we do something, we can do it. But we don't have a plan. But in the future, I think Lugano is becoming a use case, a case. So a business case, and probably, more is to come.
Okay.
Yes. And also for me, I think that we touched on this earlier during this exchange. Yes, be open-minded, of course, curious, sufficiently committed, because you cannot expect everybody to agree with what you suggest, with what you end up doing, right? There will always be dissenting opinions and voices, sometimes even loud ones. But if you are convinced you can stay the course, let's say, right, and bring home your projects, maybe a small step, really small step approach is often the best one, right? Particularly when you move in a context that is quite traditional, so to speak, right, as ours. So we really implemented this whole thing step by step, small steps, and you consolidate, then you move to the next one. As Paolo was saying, you now see the first couple of concrete projects. We have much more in store, of course, and we're now preparing, because you always try to minimize also the room for mistakes. So small steps, well thought through, of course, and then just be convinced that is the right thing, and then you can bring innovation. Ultimately, and I repeat what my colleague was saying here, is about doing something that you think might help improving overall the quality of life of your citizens and of ourselves, of everybody, right?
Maybe if I may add something, because Lugano is a special case, but we are not the only one case. I mean, in the world about blockchain and crypto, there is a lot of cities, countries, etc., that are doing a lot. So we are just one of the cases, right? We are not the case. This is really clear to me, but we can. Let's say, share our experience and learn from the others. So right now, I think the public sector, as other cities, we should connect to exchange our opinions, to exchange our experience. And we are very happy to bring our experience, but we are also very happy that others brings their experience. And we can, maybe we have done something wrong and we can make it better. Or maybe we have done something good and we can transmit this to other cities. But we are really at disposal. So this is really being public servant, right?
Okay, so last question. Based on your experience, do you think that it's a good idea to launch, to cooperate with Tether and to launch an activities similar to Plan B in Taiwan? And if so, is there any hints or tips that you can provide to help us better construct such a project in Taiwan?
Well, I admit that I do not know much, of course, about Taiwan, so it's difficult for me to give any advice, any concrete advice. What I can tell you is that so far our experience, the experience of our collaboration with Tether has been extremely fruitful. Let's say we bring to the table each of the two parties, right, brings to the table its own strength, right, and experiences and know-how. If we think about public-private partnership, traditionally it has been used now for many years to build infrastructure, for instance. Now, well, here we take public-private partnership to a different level, of course, and yes, we are very satisfied, of course. What is happening here now at Frank University is an example of this partnership. We mentioned the other areas where we collaborate. Ultimately, it's about being sufficiently open-minded, and trying really to bring to the table what you can bring to the table as a public sector representative, and the company will do its own part. Each one of the partners has to fully collaborate, and I think this is what we have been seeing here for a little bit over 1 year. Yes.
So basically, our interview is over, and we actually will have bring a special gift to you guys. It's from Taiwan, and it's really special. And then I would like to invite Chris, our Tether Advisory Board member, and also the blockchain platform, and also our mainly sponsor for all of these Taiwanese students to participate in this event. So, Chris, could you please just join us?
Okay, this is Taiwan souvenir and tea from the
Excellent.
Artisan tea. Okay, Artisan tea.
I love tea.
Yeah, so welcome to Taipei for more innovation together in the future.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your interview and sharing your ambitious insights. So we hope to see you soon in the near future in Taiwan. Thank you.
Would you like to take a picture together?
Yes, let's take a
maybe?
photo together.
Yeah. Chris, can you be in it? Okay.